Hey everyone, today I'm going to be going over how to use some of Blender's built-in shapes and tools to make some stylized fur or hair. So I have screencast keys turned on in the lower left so that you guys can see the mouse strokes and keystrokes I'm doing. Other than that, this is just default Blender, so feel free to follow along. You're going to start out by opening Blender or creating a new scene. You should get something similar to this. It may be slightly different colors on the background and everything because I'm using the Maya theme, but you should have a cube, a camera, and a light. So we're going to start by clicking or left clicking on the cube. We're going to hit X and delete that. Then we're going to hold down Shift and A, go to the mesh menu, and we're going to add a cone. Now, we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. We're going to hit G to grab it, Z to clamp the movement to the Z axis, and we're going to just hit 1. Now that should move the cone's base to the XY plane. Now with everything still selected, we're going to hit S, but then we're going to hold down Shift and hit Z. Now what that's going to do is it's going to clamp our operation to the XY plane, so it's not going to make the cone shorter, just skinnier. And then you're just going to drag in until the cone gets as thin or thick as you want. Keep in mind this is going to be a single clump of hair, so just kind of there's no right or wrong answer, just if this is what looks kind of like a clump of hair in your mind, that's what you want. And there you go. So once you get this to where it looks kind of what you want it to look like, for now we're going to go ahead and just name that hair. It's no longer a cone, and we're going to hide it. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we need a path to kind of trace the hair on. So we're going to go to Shift A again, and we're going to go to Curve this time, and we're going to create a Bezier curve. Now, if you've never worked with Bezier curves, they have some similar properties to meshes, like they've got points and edges, but they work a little different. So we're just going to, with it selected, we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. And this next point's very important. So you're either going to hit 7 on the number pad, not the number row, to move to where you're looking straight down at the XY plane, or if you don't have a number pad on your computer, you can come up here to this little thing, and if you tap that blue Z, it'll do the same thing. Now, the reason this is important is this takes Z out of any transformations you do. So if I grab something, I'm just going to be moving it on the XY plane. I don't have to keep hitting Shift Z, Shift Z, Shift Z. And trust me, that kind of simplicity or kind of simplification is really, really helpful here because we're going to be doing a lot of transforms. Now, to make things easier on myself, I'm going to grab this handle, G and X, and I'm just going to pull it in a little bit. I don't have to do this part, but it's something that a little bit later on, it's going to help a lot. Now, this next part is also very important. We're going to grab our left point, do GX, and we're going to move it right toward the origin. Now, the reason I said this is very important, if you grab the other point and move it to the origin, you're going to mess everything up because of the way that one of the steps that we do a little bit later works. And it's very hard to recover at that point without just redoing the path from scratch. So, yeah, make sure that you move the left point, not the right. Now, for the right point, what we're going to do is you can kind of see maybe it might be hard if you're watching this on YouTube or something. There are some grid lines, and there are kind of some major and minor ones. So I'm going to move my uh, path point by doing G and X to the second major grid line. Now I'm going to extrude this with the E, and I'm going to move it down here. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Like we're going to fix this and make it look pretty in a minute. For now, just kind of make sure all your points are in place, and then, we can make sure that it looks nice in a minute. So there, so there, so, whatever. Like I said, I'm really, really being kind of loose. This is not a science, just kind of make it kind of look good, make sure it kind of looks, approximately okay. We're gonna fix it here in a sec. And then also make sure you have kind of a pretty decent spiral. Okay, so now that we've got our points, I'm going to clean them up and I will probably fast forward this. Here's the general idea though, is you just want to do this. You just want to make it to where we're making a spiral. That's the TLDR of this, we're making a spiral. So make sure, like I said, I'll probably fast forward this. Blah. So, assuming I sped all this up, so you should end up with something like that. That's exactly what you want, and what we're going to call this is fur path. I guess we can call it hair path, since I named the other thing hair. And the final thing we're going to need, and this one's easy, just hit Shift A again, and we're going to add an empty. And I like the sphere one, but if you feel like a cube or whatever, this doesn't matter. I just feel like the sphere is kind of more indicative of what we're doing, but whatever. Uh, and I'm going to name this hair controller. There we go. So now we've got the three pieces we need to make our stylized hair. So we're going to show our hair again, and we're going to make, or we're going to add a modifier to our hair. So the way we do that is we're going to highlight the hair, and then we're going to come down here to this wrench that says modifiers, and we're going to add a modifier. And what we're going to add is an array modifier. Now, if I go ahead and crank this up a few times, you see that, yeah, we got something that looks like hair. And the thing about the thing about this is though is it doesn't really look like what we want. I mean, yeah, it it duplicates it, but it looks closer to a cone. Like there's not much variation. And that's probably not what we're going for. We're probably wanting something that's kind of clumpy a little bit. So let's kind of discuss how to fix that. So the first problem is right now we're using a relative offset, which, it lets you define kind of a constant line to duplicate things on. So for example, like if right now the y is 0, if I slide this up, see it rotates it along the y direction. And same thing with the z, like that'll make it go up and down. But you can really only get lines, so that's not really useful for what we want. Uh, I mean, there is a caveat with that, which I'll go over in a second, but uh, the other issue is, we probably don't want the hair to be all even length. That's the bigger issue. So if you look at like hair on a lot of different, like, when you're doing hair for characters, normally you've got the central pieces of hair are bigger, and then as you get towards the edge, it gets smaller, and that's, just kind of the way hair fur works. So we kind of want that aspect worked in here. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to turn off relative, and we're going to go to object offset. And we're going to pick our hair controller as the object. Now, at first glance, it doesn't look like it did anything. It's kind of like, okay, well, now I just got one piece, so what happened? Well, the way the object offset works is whatever object you have controlling this, whatever transforms you apply to this will be applied to this. So for example, I'm going to grab my controller, I'm going to hit X to clamp the movement on the X axis, and I'm going to move it over a little. Look at that. That's really similar to what we have with the relative offset, except it's more powerful because now if I scale this, wow, look at that. So this is starting to look more like what we want. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just move this up a little bit, add a few more pieces, maybe make the scaling a slightly less, intense. And that looks pretty good, but it's still straight. So how do we deal with that? So what we're going to do is add another modifier, and this time we're going to want to add one called curve, which is under the deform menu. And what that says is, okay, I'm going to give you a curve and I want you to follow it. And this is why I said you want to make sure to move in that specific direction. If you move the vertex to the left instead of right, or if you move the right vertex instead of the left, the behavior of this will be reversed. So the smaller pieces will be in towards the center, and the bigger pieces will be towards the edge, which isn't really what we want. And you also notice the other issue here is this is all spaced really far apart. So the way that we can fix this, now that this is linked to the path, we can just select our hair path again, highlight everything, and we're just going to scale this in. And as we do, now we're starting to get something that looks a lot more like clumps. Awesome. And if you want, since these are all, since modifiers are non-destructive, we could actually scale this up a little bit. And now look at that. Now there is one final thing. This definitely is clumped, but it still doesn't quite look right, and that's because it's straight up and down, and normally hair kind of comes out from a central place. Now, don't worry, there is a super quick way to get this last part implemented. So all you need to do is highlight your hair controller. You can kind of see it there. We're going to rotate, and we're going to clamp on X. And just, oh, look at that. And just like that, and I mean, just play around with it until it looks the way you want it. But just like that, we have something that looks pretty decent. And there's all kinds of ways that you can play around with this, like scaling or making, changing the shape of the path or whatever. I'm not here, to tell you how to make pitch perfect. That's really up to you. The cool thing is with 3D modeling is, you can spend hours getting things looking exactly the way you want it, getting things to look pitch perfect. It really just depends on what kind of effect you're wanting to go for. But hopefully this video gave you some really nice tools to kind of play and experiment with. And, please feel free to comment, the results of your experiments in the, comment section below. I'd love to see what people do with this.